Alrighty, how's it going? So we just wrapped up a really awesome weekend, lots of really high-level play, basically everywhere. Australia had a Materia Cup, EU had a Materia Cup, and Florida in NA had a Materia Cup. So the deck lists for Australia and EU aren't quite public yet, but all the North American ones were posted. I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of go over all of them. For the curious, Final Fantasy VI and Dragoons won Europe and Australia respectively, which is really, really interesting to me. I had both of those as tier 3 decks back in my tier list, if anybody's curious. And Final Fantasy VI put on a show this weekend, I'm not going to lie. Final Fantasy VI might need to be bumped up to tier 2. It is really, really doing well. So I've got all the deck lists pulled up here on FF Decks thanks to Lisa in the DFW group. I figured I would go over them kind of one by one, talk about what's interesting and or exciting. So first, you got to start with the winner. This is Matthew Okimoto's winning list. The winning deck list was on Ice Earth. And for the most part, this is pretty standard stuff. Again, you're really looking at using Weiss, Biblos, and Scale Toad to kind of control the flow of the game. But there's a couple of really interesting cards in here. Using Light Tidus makes sense. Very slow defensive deck. Tidus is just very good at both removing a body and being a large blocker. We're going to notice that we're on 3 copies of Hecaton Shear. This card has just... The value of this card has shot up just remarkably thanks to 13. It's one of the only easy ways to trade up into them. So Australia and NA had no 13 make top cut. Meanwhile, Europe had every single streamed game in Top Cut had a 13 player in it. So I don't know if Europe was just less prepared for 13, or they didn't respect it as much, or if NA and Australia's better players just weren't playing 13. I really don't know. All I know is that 13 did not make any kind of a showing here whatsoever. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably more so that NA was just much more prepared for it. You see a lot of these lists are packing just really powerful answers, like 3 Hecaton Shear, the Shadow Lord, the Shantoto, the Tidus. These are all cards that 13 is going to struggle to handle. The one thing I do want to point out that was really, really powerful in this list is the 1 copy of Mandragora. I'd kind of forgotten this card existed. I think the current theme of the meta right now is you have 13 forcing everyone to run aggro outs. And the best out to aggro is Warrior of Light. But there's very few setups that get you 2 Warrior of Light without using a 5-cost backup. Or a 4-cost backup. So you see a lot of people running... Like, at high-level tables, if you're on a Earth deck that's planning on playing Warrior of Light, you're going to see a lot of backup destruction to try to prevent the other player from getting to their win condition. Mandragora is a really cheap, cute way of doing that. You don't mind paying 2 to break a 5-cost backup. Even if you break a Thornton for Soiree, you're locking them out of their water CP. Sure, they get the draw, but that draw they would have gotten anyway if they were able to cast a Warrior of Light normally. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Cracking a Tyro feels really, really nuts for 2 CP. It's recurable off of the Larcacus. I think this card might actually be one of a really big sleeper gem out of this set. Rest of this list, pretty stock standard, pretty normal stuff. Yeah, congrats, Matt. Ryan Chen also was in top 16. These lists are literally identical, so we'll go ahead and move past. Second place list was Final Fantasy VI, and this list is kind of wild, I'm not going to lie. So, no summons whatsoever, because we're on a general Leo. Leo is decently well positioned. Most decks are on about 8 to 9 summons. This deck has a pretty large weakness to Hecaton Shear. Leo says that Hecaton Shear doesn't work anymore. There's some really cute stuff you can do with something like an Interceptor, so you can attack your Leo, so Leo doesn't get removed by being forced to block at the wrong time. There's plenty of removal with the Emperor Gestal. This lock, if you're able to kind of chain off casts, ends up actually really cycling through your deck. I mean, you look at a lot of these cards, and Solis can search a card, and then you draw off of the lock, potentially, or make your opponent discard. If you go for, if you get like the Mobius, like the Laragorn and the Mobius, Mobius can add back a Kurlax. While Walk draws you a card. Edgar gets essentially a 1 CP card that also draws, like he becomes negative 1 CP. It's just very, very powerful and very fast to do so. Any 2 CP backup works great with it. I think the only criticism I have of this list is I might try to find a way to get to like a second copy of Terra. But like, even with that in mind, I mean, this list is really cool. Definitely a little bit strange piloted in Top Cut. Like the one game that we saw, there was like a situation where they played the Gestalian Empire Sid with 1 card in hand against Ice Earth and searched an Edgar. I think I would have searched Umaro instead, because you don't really mind seeing Umaro in the break zone, but it's Top Cut. Like, nerves are a thing. It's very difficult to play at that level, like, perfectly at all times, and you know, you just do your best in Top Cut. So, really, really cool list. Very happy to see my favorite Final Fantasy get a lot of love, even if I really don't love this deck's playstyle, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Fire Ice. I wish I liked the Final Fantasy VI deck a lot more than I do, but so our top after Swiss was Ice Lightning with this list here. As far as new cards, you see that the 2 copies of Vincent here is about the only change. I guess the 1 Kuja. Kuja is a decent answer to 13. Vincent kind of helps you stun. You basically get to like stun your opponent for a turn, which in Ice Lightning, when you're so aggro anyway, it's actually quite good. Also, I guess makes room for this Light Cloud now to have both this Vincent as a target and Sephiroth if you don't need to get your Reeve Kate Sith engine online. Also, this Vincent gives Reeve targets that aren't Kate Sith, which is always good as well. You'll see the 3 Ixion, 3 Ramu. Very clearly trying to handle 13 with the Ixions. Ramu does well against wind. Sometimes you can pop like a Rosa and a Atomos in one fell swoop, which tends to be kind of backbreaking for that deck. It's always been a decent tech against that deck, but weirdly there was no wind, like mono wind cast decks in Top Cut, which is pretty surprising. There was like one deck that you can like kind of say is a cast deck, but it's so strange and unique that I almost struggle to call it one. So yeah, I would say this is relatively standard. 3 Theodore isn't necessarily something you see a ton in Ice Lightning, but it sort of makes sense. You want to kind of force your opponent to play down, at which point you can kind of deal with things as they are on the field, blocking things with like Zeramis and Alcid. I don't hate that. I mean, Theodore is just a powerful card in general, even if there's not a way to kind of continually keep your opponent off being able to play cards. So here's another Ice Lightning list. This one's a little bit, we're off the Theodora. We're on 2 copies of Orphan, which I guess is to enable Lumina with our Lightnings and our Orphan. Just 1 Physalis is interesting. I would think that would be like kind of a 3 or 0 card. Down to just the 1 Vincent. 2 Sid Randell. Sid is actually like a shockingly good card if you're not used to it. Kind of just forces your opponent to play in a strange way if they can't find the removal for it. Not a lot of protection for him in this list, so I think he's a little vulnerable. I might run him at 1 instead, but you'll see the 3 Arcanist here. This person was Cody was apparently teching very heavily for Soiree. I think this card just gets better and better. Its ability to kind of shut the game off for your opponent is extremely potent. I think that you really almost need to have no more than, I would say, 60% of your forward be the same cost. If you get like beyond that, you start getting to the point where you have a severe Arcanist weakness, and this card can just win the game by itself. You see again 3 Ixion, 2 Rama. You really see why 13 was struggling at this list, because every single list is just packing as many haymakers for it as it can. And this should have a pretty good 13 matchup anyway. Stuff like Al Cid actually does very well into it, because you can continuously dull freeze the forwards and prevent the damage from going through. So like if they go for the combo, you can go like Ixion, pop all their stuff, and then go Al Cid, Zeramis, and just keep them frozen forever. So that like the Hope and the Vanille just never get to attack. Here's the last of the 3 Ice Lightning lists. It was the most represented in Top Cut. This one is more built around the Lady Lilith Melusine combo. Very, very consistent. You see all the 3 ofs in the forward lineup. This list is going to go in there. It's gonna get the exact forwards it wants when it needs to get them. 3 Shantoto is showing up in 2 of the lists. Actually, it's in all of the lists now. So, sort of makes sense. Your opponent a lot of times has to go to a low hand size to answer the aggression from 13. Or not from 13, from Ice Lightning. Shantoto kind of punishes them for that and allows you to kind of repeat some of your plays, which is really, really good. You see we got the Zalera, the Shiva, the 2 Ixians. The Zalera and the Ixians can help answer 13. Lilith Melusine actually does very well into it as well. You can kind of steal 1, remove it from the game, threaten to then pop the lightning with the Lilith, so the 13 deck has to kill the Lilith before they can actually commit to the lightning before going to combat, which can be difficult to do. You see we're on the Crystal Gen backups to try to enable the Lilith as well. I don't think we have any other Crystal Gen outlets, or Crystal outlets, other than the Shantoto in hand. The Crystal effect on Shantoto is also really good. Gives you kind of a way to sneak lethal out of nowhere, because your opponent just can't keep blockers up. Especially good in a format with Warrior of Light running rampant everywhere. So here we have a mono water list. It's a little interesting. You see we're only on the 2 Echidna. We're not on the 3 Blue Worm or any number of Tonberries. 2 Alphino, actually quite a few. Usually you only see that as a 1 of in lists. You see again the 3 Lightnings, 3 Levy 6. We're really trying to make sure we don't lose to 13. Glaciella is a little slow against 13, but once she gets set up, she can kind of just machine gun down the threatening forwards. We have the Realm plus Ash combo, which I always love to see, especially when you're pairing it with something as powerful as the Glaciella. Kakulin is more 13 hate, stopping the lightning triggers from going through. This Leviathan helps in the mirror match. Also, you can bounce the lightning, start a combat phase to kind of prevent some damage. Atomos is another card 13 struggles to handle because they really want to get all of their attacks off in a row. We are on the 1 Yagrosh, trying to kind of hedge our bets against all of the dull freezing going around and the backup reactivation of wind, but not on the Yagrosh plus Kalmia combo. I don't know how much I like that in general, but it's always interesting to see that as a possibility showing up. 3 Yuna makes sense, 3 Oracle. We're not on any Geomancers. Gordon, Waka, and Sarah. So our Sarah target is Gordon or the Lena. I don't think we have any other princesses in the list. Yeah. Surprised to not see 1 copy of Hilda in here. I actually really like Hilda as a 1-up with Sarah. Brandon Bastard. This is one of the wildest lists to have ever topped. It's essentially mono water, except it's mono water playing Ultros. So we're on 3, 5, 8, 11 copies of Ultros. And to be fair, this Ultros Legend from Opus 9 is quite good, actually. If you get, 5 or 6 Ultroses in the break zone, you're doing an 8k cleave on attack. It becomes really difficult after a while to kind of maintain. Especially when you have stuff like this Ultros. Your 13 opponent has to swing into it. You can mill 5, play an Ultros for free. I'm surprised to not see a Lena in here. I think like a copy of Lena plus Levy 6 would actually, or Levy 9 would be really good. Kind of like use this Ultros to fuel your break zone and then just kind of go for game with like your Blue Worms, your Trosas, your Echidnas. This might be something worth experimenting with. It might just be very well positioned against the current format. Let's take a look at the backups real quick. We are on the Kalmia Yuna. That makes sense. Or the Kalmia Yagrosh. You can kind of go Sildra for Yagrosh and Kalmia, get your 2 backups to kind of give yourself some protection for your Ultroses if your opponent's on like a Kadaj. I'm not a huge fan of this combination. I think it's a little slow, but in the right matchups, it is interesting for sure. As far as our summons go, 3 Famfrit and 3 Atomos. We're really going heavy on that. We don't mind sacrificing a lot of these Ultroses, right? Like this one, you can kind of pay 2, sacrifice it, pay 1 more, search for your big Ultros. This Ultros we actually do want to die, so we can get our self-mills on. We're on Lightning as our light card to pair with this. We can kind of keep that self-mill going. Really cool list. Definitely one I would like to play test. I might get some games on Octagon with this and dabble around with it a little bit. Mono Fire Magissa. So I guess I got a lot of buffs this set. I haven't really seen this list in action a lot, so it was interesting kind of watching. It showed up a lot on the European stream. Some of the interesting new techs. Iodolus is being used to kind of cheat in Warrior of Light against 13. It also allows for you to do a ping on your Magissa, so it's like a 6 EP to get a forward and a Magissa ping, which, like, if you're reviving a 4 cost, it's like a 2 cost to ping your Magissa, which you're doing anyway with your Palams and your Zombies. One copy of this bomb, again, you're just looking for cheap ways of pinging Magissa. You can kind of start chaining things together, like go Magissa, ping the Magissa, get an Alfino, search this bomb, play this bomb, ping the Magissa, play a Bosch, take a point of damage, search a bomb, play the bomb, ping the Magissa. The European list was really cool as well. It was running waltzes and just using the discard effect to ping their own Magissa. Like, it was on even like the ice waltzes to try to do it. I'm a little surprised this deck didn't run into, let's see, yeah, almost everything in this list dies to Hecaton. So it's going to run into a lot of the same issues that 13 is. But I like the toolboxiness of it. I think it's really, really cool. Things like Axstar gives you removal, Bosch and Alfino give you searchability. You can kind of just get a lot of force to the field very quickly. This Yuzuki is a really nice tech card in some matchups. Like Soiree, turning off the Elbis to protect the Magissa is actually very relevant. Especially because you can do that at like instant speed, right? Like, your opponent can go like, play Elbis, try to ping Magissa. You go, okay, in response, Brynhildr my Magissa effect, pull Yuzuki out of the deck. Yuzuki now says that she doesn't die to the Magissa. Also protects from stuff like a Luso. Wind would actually have a very difficult time dealing with this card, which is really cool, actually. Another example, like Yuffie. Yuffie all of a sudden doesn't stop this deck anymore. Only 2 Amaterasu is surprising. I would expect that to go down, but it's also, it sort of makes sense, I guess. We're a little tight on space. Maybe like cut one of the allies A's for the 3rd Amaterasu if you wanted to, but again, I mean, obviously, like, I'm just like kind of playing these off the cuff. I'm sure these players have a lot better reasons for some of these cards than someone that's just kind of critiquing them at like a glance online would go. Sam Prime was on Wind Soiree. I kind of called this as my deck to beat of the format. If I had to predict, I would have thought this would be the type of deck that would have won. We're on the 3 Cecil, 3 Warrior of Light combo, which gives us a really good game against 13. 3 copies of Hecaton Shear and the Shantoto. So many answers to 13 in this list, alongside 17 EX bursts. It's just a natural high EX density in Soiree, which helps a lot as well. 3 Zidane, 2 Porum, the Cecil, the Euphies, all of that gives it kind of a decent chance against Arcanist. Zidane especially kind of becomes a problem card for that deck to deal with. A little surprised to not see any backup hate. Another interesting card to see show up. 2 copies of this Galuf. I'd be curious to talk to Sam about how this performed. This is one of those cards that like has seemed really powerful, but just hasn't really shined anywhere. Like, being even a 4K, a 4CP 11K Brave at damage 3 seems really solid. Especially when you pair it with the removal engine that Galuf provides, but he's a Brave 11K that like kills something every time he attacks. He's kind of like a build your own ace in a way at that point, right? That also becomes like pretty difficult for some decks to remove. It's a really good answer to Warrior of Light, actually. So, yeah, I think this list is really good. Very few notes on it. The 2 Mist Dragon, 2 Kusith. The only thing I think it's really missing is some form of backup destruction, which I think is really, really potent right now. So here's another Soiree list that's got top 4. Very interesting to see Pekiyota in a list. Most Soiree lists have kind of phased him out. It sort of makes sense with the amount of Vincent we've seen running around. You can kind of use Pekiyota to get your 4 backups back. It does kind of hedge a little bit against Arcanist. You have like the Pekiyota, the Bosch, 2 Cecil, and a Fusoya to try to like wiggle your way through that. Just 1 copy of Amaterasu is a little surprising. How many EXs are we on? 24 EX. So we feel pretty decent that we can kind of get our way past that, but this list got absolutely demolished on stream by Oki on Ice Earth. Just the sheer quantity of 4-drop forwards. Like if you look here, almost 30 4-drop cards. It's very hard to push through an Arcanist consistently in Ice Earth if you just have this density of 4-cost forwards. So you kind of gamble on not hitting Ice Earth. Like you take a bad matchup there to have more consistency and better play elsewhere. I get it. Like it makes sense, but it is definitely a tough matchup. Ninjas. So this is on Yuffie plus Yuffie to kind of answer 13, it looks like. You see we have the 3 Minas as well. 3 Yugiri. We have a lot of access to Yuffie if we need it. Zidane. There's fire backups in this. Interesting. Yeah, Fire Ninja. So we can kind of color fix for fire to get this Zidane down. I'm a little surprised. I would expect them to just go, if you really wanted to play a Zidane, play like either the hand rip one or the steal your opponent's cards one, just to kind of like... because I don't think we have a way of cheating this into play, do we? Let's take a look around real quick. No, we have to hardcast it, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think, I'm not sure that we're on quite enough fire cards where I'd feel comfortable playing this. If we want to color fix for it, we can though, because you can go Mina, Yugiri, this Ninja, and then go for this Zidane. But I feel like this Zidane kind of is a lot better early, because you can disrupt your opponent's setup as they're trying to go for it. 2 copies of this Golbez. This Golbez actually is quite good. Get us into these ninjas, get us another copy of Yuffie. Is it 2 or less? No, cost 2 exactly. More copies of Edge. This Onion Knight. Oh, nope, this Onion Knight doesn't cheat it into play either. This Onion Knight's actually a really difficult card to deal with at the wrong time. But yeah, you can tag this Onion Knight out into either your Hooded Man, get back something. I think the only thing I would also like to see, like 1 copy of the Light Cecil could be really sick in this list. This White Mage is like really funny. It just shuts off Yuffie entirely. Also does a really good job of handling Hecaton Shear in matchups where that's going to come up a lot. It's recurable with the 2 Azuras in the list. One thing that ninjas still have over everyone else is low-cost backup destruction with this ninja. This is a card that they just don't print. Like, they don't print cards like this often. I'm actually surprised to see it's only at 2. Because I think that the ability to pay 2 for a backup and then pay 2 later to break your opponent's backup is surprisingly powerful. Yeah, Kosetsu EX to go get ourselves the Yugiri. I forgot he actually has that effect on this. So, yeah. So this is, I believe, the Riku list, right? So we're on like a mono Earth-ish backup line. We're on 2 Elbas because we're on Amber Shinju to get 2 Earth backups down. And we do like fire. We're on 2 copies of Axstar, 2 copies of Bosch, the Y'shtola, and the Warrior of Light. This is essentially multi-element deck featuring Earth backups. And we're on 3 Arcanist as well. I'd be a little worried that without the Riku on field, we can't pay for the Arcanist cost. But as long as we're able to protect the Riku, this does seem quite good. I guess if you get 2 Arcanists down as well, but at that point you're kind of cutting into your ability to use Riku for the backup color fixing, and you can't ever cast your Warrior of Light, so you really never want more than 1 of this on field. We're also on the Leo here. Really, really cool card. Basically makes all your backups rainbow, and he gets big based on the number of characters you have. We're on the 1 copy of Fenrir. I guess we can recur the 1 Kryl with this as the only target to revive. I usually like, if you're on Fenrir, try to find 1 more card. Like 2 to 4 Earth forwards of cost 2 should be in the deck usually, in my opinion. It kind of gives you a buffer if your opponent misdragons your break zone at some point in the course of the game and removes the target. But I really think this card is extremely powerful right now, as is this Hecaton Shear. We've got the Garnet plus the Riku to recur the Garnet, to recur the Hecaton Shear and the Fenrir, so. So this is one of the wildest lists of the event. This was on stream twice, but This is a Terra cast focus deck. You see we're on 24 summons. We're on Moogle 9. Some really cool things you can do in this list with Moogle 9, because we're on the 3 copies of Chocomon. You can go like, Moogle 9 does allow you to search your Cosmos out, which means we can kind of color fix all of our weird stuff over here. This kind of plays as a control deck. You can go stuff like cast Chocomog for 1, search Moogle 9, tap the Moogle 9, pitch the Choco that you get from it to go search a Chocomog. Cast the Chocomog, Atomos activate 2 backups, Moogle 9 again, search for the 3rd Chocomog, and just kind of, you know, ping off over and over again with this Terra, which is really, really cool. Surprised to not see like 1 copy of Chocolate over here as just an alternative Chocomog target. We have like the class 8s to kind of keep our Earth CP, but I don't even feel like the Earth CP is that necessary when we have Tyro, Shantoto, and Cosmos. And we have the Kakul the Impure, the Hecaton Shears. All of these are ways of trying to stop 13, along with the 3 full copies of Shantoto. 13 didn't top cut, but you can definitely see the effect on how people are building their decks. And Terra actually is a very strong answer to 13, for what it's worth. I think it should be hard to hard cast in this list. You have to have like a second Terra and a lock or a lock in hand to do it. But like if they go turn 1 with their 2 things and you dull freeze both of them by casting a Terra, you actually are in a pretty decent spot, because they have to find a way to remove the Terra before they can ever actually get attacks going through. So especially if you do have like a couple summons to cast on their turn, you can just kind of keep freezing their forwards on their turn, which just kind of keeps them stuck forever. This list is really, really cool. I'm amazed. I'd be curious how consistent this is. We are on just the 14 backups, the 10 forwards. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard for this deck to run out of gas in the forward department. And because we're so heavily searching and drawing with our Chocomogs and our Alexanders, I wonder if it's possible to just Althea Shantoto, and this deck just lose. I mean, I guess the Terra makes the Althea Shantoto play a lot harder, but this deck doesn't have a ton of answers to Hecaton Shear other than Mist Dragon, for example. Really, really cool list. It was a lot of fun to watch on stream. So this is Warriors of Light by Sam Toole. Essentially, we're trying to get our rainbow backups down. You can see we're on the Iodolus Warrior of Light combination to kind of get that Warrior of Light into play a lot quicker than we could otherwise. I'm still not fully sold on Warriors of Light as an archetype. I do admit Ferris, Lunith, if they come together, especially if you're on damage 3. If you have like a spare fire backup, you can go like Ferris, cleave everybody, search Warrior of Light, cast Warrior of Light, activate all your backups, draw a card. Like that gets really, really potent very quickly. And I think this Refia, when I was first seeing lists running this Refia, I was like, well, the problem with this Refia here is I just don't see the backups to do it. But what Refia is really being used here for is a reactivation engine for Warrior of Light that also procs the damage off of Ferris's ping. Same for this Lena. This Lena can revive this Warrior of Light, but it's mostly here because it's just a decent-ish Warrior of Light card that Ferris can ping. We have the 2 Hecaton Shear, 2 Shantoto, the 3 Warrior of Light plus the Iodolas to try to get things online quickly. You can declare Wind with the Princess Sarah. Then these 4 backups by themselves are your 4 colors for your Warrior of Light. So you can kind of turbo into that, which this makes very consistent with Sildra. Sildra for Sarah, class 4th, play the Sarah, search the Princess Sarah, play the class 4th. Next turn, tap for the Princess Sarah, play a Kryl, and you're good to go. Or you can go Sildra for Kryl, class 4th, play Kryl, get back Sildra, cast Sildra, search Sarah, plus, I don't know, Refia. The Furian's really interesting. I don't know if we have the density of cards, but if you have the ability to cheat this into play early, this is also a decent answer to 13, just because 13 can struggle with First Strike quite a bit. And yeah, there's definitely like very interesting things in this deck, especially with like once you get to the 5 backups. Let's see here if there's a... Okay, so if you have Eidolus, but you can pop your Eidolus. So if we ignore the Eidolus, Seraph for Wind, this is Fire, Water, Earth, Earth, or Earth, Rainbow, Rainbow. Yeah, it's impossible to lock your backups to the point where Fusoya can't get all of his text with this deck. And the only way that you even need to crack the Eidolus to stop that is if you have Class 4th and Sarah on field at the same time as the Eidolus. Even then, if you just resolve the first 3 effects, you feel pretty good. If you kind of go by the expected CP value of each of these effects, drawing a card is 2 CP, getting a summon back is 2 CP. Bouncing an opponent's character costs usually in the realm of 2 to 3 CP, and then the spin a forward costs about 4 CP. So all of the expected value off of casting Fusoya is so good. Even to the point where, like, if you pitch 2 cards for a Sildra, get Warrior of Light Fusoya, and then go Warrior of Light Fusoya, you probably just won that game. Lastly, we have Archfiends. Archfiends topped. Did not see that one coming, personally. I've actually been playing this deck for fun, just to have a break from playing... I'm not going to say other good decks, because this deck clearly has some legs to it, but just... There's something fun about the way that this deck allows you to just, pop off and draw a gazillion cards, it feels like. It's kind of cool. You get to see, like, a lot of the Category 4 density cards, like the Theodore. Surprised to not see us on Hooded Man as well. It turns out this Rubicante is actually like a pretty decent card at answering 13. I've been amazed at how often I've resolved the Barbarisha, all for Archfiend effect. This Scarmiglione is also just annoying for your opponent to deal with sometimes. Cagnazzo is Cagnazzo. He's been okay for a while. We're on this Golbez as well to search off and play. We got 1 copy of the Emperor, so we can kind of get 1 extra target for our Vayne. Very interesting to see us on an Earth Core, so we can run the buy again as well. I know that Steve's list was just on the Gramus and Sid Palandina and max copies. If we're looking at our backups, Class 6 gives us Water. This gives us Lightning CP on our Earth Shell as well. 2 copies of Phoenix. What are we reviving with Phoenix? Oh, we're on the Rydia. That's really cool. I kind of noted this when the Golbez was first revealed. You can kind of use this as an engine to power up a Rydia over the course of a couple turns. You go Rydia and then go Warp Golbez. Then next turn comes in, you have access to Amaterasu. Yeah, these I don't know. I'd have to pilot this list a bit to see if I like it better than Steve's version of the list, which is on like a very heavy 4 package to enable the Light Cecil. I've noted with that list, it very much flounders against Hecaton Shear and Shantoto, which is why I would be scared to take it to a major event. This one I would have less of an issue with that thanks to the Mist Dragon and Amaterasu main deck alongside the Rydia, but yeah, very impressive to see this list top. It's always got to feel really good when you take a pet deck and do well at a tourney. So with that, hope you guys enjoyed watching, and as soon as I get lists for Australia and EU, I'll probably do something similar for them.